Welcome to Freedom Cast, where your hosts, Jordan and Miranda, show you how to get just a little bit more out of life. Are you ready to leave normal behind?
Hello, Freedom Casters, and welcome to this episode of Freedom Cast, Leaving Normal Behind. And today, we are going to be talking about leaving normal behind.
What? That's awesome. This is episode 8 in our 8-part Momentum series. So this is the final. This is the last episode in this, and we are hoping to just provide a ton of value in this one.
So if you are sick of hearing about volcanic momentum, then this will be the last one before we switch into something else.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll still talk about it, though.
Yeah, I'm just letting them know, that's all.
Yeah.
Being informative.
Oh, yeah, you were great.
So, leaving normal behind, that is our whole thing. That's our brand, in a way.
It is our brand, isn't it?
Our brand. So, what does it mean, and why, I guess, would be the biggest questions.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to talk about today.
Yeah, why do we think leaving normal behind is important?
Yeah, so what's wrong with normal? Why do we want to leave normal behind?
Yeah, and I don't know if there's anything necessarily wrong with normal, but I think that maybe there is a little bit wrong with normal. I don't like to say, people are doing the wrong thing. But me and Miranda are very much, for the last, I would say 3 years now, have been very, very much into not leading a normal life. And we don't say normal as, all these other people are doing it, so it's definitely bad. But we just are very, very much into, we don't want to do things just because that's the way we think we should do them. It's
more about intentionality. It's more about, are you doing what you're doing because that's a decision you're making, or are you just going along with the stream of life and just letting it carry you willy-nilly around?
Yeah, because I think doing normal things is fine. Like getting a house, having kids, getting a nice car, all those things, in and of themselves, we don't think those things are necessarily bad. I think they're not things that we want to jump into right away, but we never want anyone to feel like we're saying those things that normal in that way is necessarily bad. We're not leaving all of other people behind. We just don't want to do those things just because that's why just because that's what everyone else does.
Exactly, and I mean in a lot of ways we are very normal.
Yes.
So there's
for sure.
Yeah, but we have made choices that are, different from what culture would have us do. And
countercultural, if you will.
And we think that because of that, we've benefited a lot and we've seen a lot of growth. And we just want to help other people who feel as though they are stuck in a life or a situation that they don't really want to be in. They just found themselves there because that's the way the stream of life took them. So like you said, we just want to help people. We are in no way being judgy when we say leaving normal behind.
Yeah, we went, like you said, we went to college, we got degrees, we got jobs after college.
We got a ton of debt.
That we didn't even really want or really think about. We were just kind of doing it just because. And I think our just minds have been opened in the last several years just to, hey, there's so much more out there. There's so much more out there for me. There's so much more out there for other people beyond just working at, and mostly it ends up being the jobs that we talk about because that's where people spend most of their time. We spend most of our time at jobs during the week that we don't necessarily love. And I don't feel like it's everyone's right to have a job that they love more than anything. But I think it's an important piece to consider because we spend so much time there. And that's why we talk a lot about that. We talk a lot about having kids and getting a nice house and stuff, because I think a lot of people do that just because that's the next logical step. And like we said, we went to college because that was the next logical step. So we're trying to break that. We're trying to leave normal behind in that way.
Yeah, break the mold. Live the life that you were, destined to live, instead of getting caught up in and trapped in a situation that isn't what you're passionate about or what you want.
Yeah, and I think from a Christian perspective, I very much believe that God wants us to grow. He wants us to be better than we are today. He doesn't want us to live lives that are just that we're just going along with the flow. We're just going through the motions. We're just doing things, every day just to get through the day. I think obviously there are going to be days where, we just need to get through the day. Like there are going to be rough days. There's going to be things that we have to do, and that's fine. That's normal. That's life. That's going to happen. But if in the grand scheme of things, the bigger picture, I think he wants us to move towards something greater. Not just to make ourselves happy, but beyond ourselves. I mean, that's a big part of the book. Destiny goals. We'll just throw that in there. But that's huge. And me and Miranda are so passionate about that. And that's why we built this podcast. That's why we're reaching out in this way, because it's just so important to us.
Yeah. We're called to be in the world, not of the world. So we are, as Christians, I think we are called to be, different from normal.
Yes.
Leave normal behind in just like a strictly like spiritual way, even just like that. So I think everybody has so much potential. I think that's the part that pains that's our pain point, because when you need to find when you're finding what you're passionate about, it's about finding that pain point. I forget who said that, but that was in one of the books or somebody we've heard talk.
Entrepreneurial book.
Yeah, like what's that pain point that you want to fix? And for us, it's just people that have this huge potential, but then we as humans miss the mark because we get caught up in, just things that aren't as important, and it's just easier to go with the flow and stick with the dangerous groupthink, Yep.
Yeah, because hobbies are great. Fun things are great. I mean, we even had an episode that was all about hobbies with Brandon. That was fun. It was cool because he does all kinds of cool different things.
They're
but
awesome.
I think like anything can become just too much of a focus for us if we get too focused on just living our life to do fun things to get us through like having a tough job. Like if we just look forward to the weekends just so we can break free and please ourselves and do whatever we want to make ourselves happy, I think that fails in the end. I mean, I was realizing that even more just going on vacation and just trying to be away and just realizing that a lot of vacation time is spent being self-serving. It's trying to make myself happy, like playing a game or like watching a show just to please myself, just to make myself happy over that period. Because vacation's about me. But that's so like, it's just not fulfilling. And I think it's cool to realize that in those like short snippets of time, because it helps us, at least it helps me to realize that the same exact thing applies to long term in our lives. If we're living our lives long term just to serve ourselves and just to move ourselves forward, we're not going to find happiness.
No, and we've discussed this before, talking about the destiny goals, is that having goals for yourself is great, but having goals that affect other people in a positive way is what's going to give you that ultimate satisfaction and
joy.
Fulfillment. Joy, yeah, not even just I'm happy. Like I'm happy when I'm, laying on the couch, eating ice cream, watching Downton Abbey. Like that makes me happy.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bring me ultimate fulfillment. And that's when I'm out doing something for others and helping other people. And it's such an easy thing to get lost in because it is very cultural to be, self-serving and, it's the land of opportunity. We want to, grow ourselves from the ground up, and it's all about, me. And I'm in no way doing like millennial bashing right now.
No, because we are millennials.
We are. And I mean, I can tell sometimes that we're millennials just with, things that we do.
There's good and bad to every generation. I think personally there's a lot of good that comes from millennials.
Yeah.
Being willing to break free from the norm is one.
Yeah. We've been, blessed in a lot of ways in our generation. And so now I think, like you said, a lot of people are looking for, well, what's after the point of, I have enough food, I have shelter, I have all these basic human needs. What's the bigger picture,
Yeah, what's beyond that?
And that's where we have landed with the what's beyond that is, helping others and reaching outside of yourself instead of just being completely focused on yourself.
Yeah, and I think the earlier you can find that purpose, the better. And I share this in my book, and we've talked about this in the podcast before, but I absolutely love this quote. It's my life mantra, so I'm going to read it again, if you bear with me, Miranda. Mark Batterson says this in his books, pretty much all of them. He says, "We must stop living as if the purpose of life is to arrive safely at death. We must stop living as if the purpose of life is to arrive safely at death." That is a quote that has stuck with me ever since I read it. It's just become what I think about often. Just as when I'm trying to think of my life's purpose, I don't want to get older. I don't want to hit 70 or 80 and then all of a sudden feel like, wow, like I really didn't live. I was just living to get by. I was living to to get to the end, and that's not why I'm living. I'm living to find the joy in those moments. And I think happiness is great. I personally think that God wants us to be happy. But if that's our ultimate goal, we're going to fall short.
And can we just take a minute and just think about how crazy life is?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking like big philosophical, just like the planet. Just think about the planet and like us being on the planet and just the enormity of life that's on planet Earth.
Yep.
And just the way that we have enough oxygen in the air that we can breathe, the way that we're positioned the perfect distance from the sun, that we don't fry up or we're not freezing all the time. It's just, unless you live in Maine.
yeah. Sorry, guys.
But it's just crazy. I think we kind of lose the magic of being alive from just living.
And the
you
busyness
know what I mean?
of
the
everyday
busyness
life,
of life. And it's, I mean, you wake up in the morning, you got to be like, man, I'm alive. This is great. Like, this is
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about it now, and it's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
But you just don't think about it.
Yeah, your eyes are like wide open.
They're wide open. I'm just like, woo.
Getting some crazy eyes here.
Crazy eye action right now. I mean, because I look outside, you see the leaves changing, the sky is blue. It's,
Yep.
It's a beautiful day. I had some coffee today for the first time in a couple weeks. So.
You are pumped right now. You're like, we got this. Let's go. Hit record.
Let's go. Yeah, I'm all pumped up.
But this is huge.
So,
it's huge stuff, and it's so important.
It is. And I like what you wrote in your book, too, about the importance about lifting other people up instead of, tearing other people down. And, I also wanted to mention, my brain's going too many directions.
Don't forget to go back to that point, because you were all about it.
You hold that
like 4 seconds ago.
You hold that thought. Remember that car commercial we saw that had it was a good quote about, do something this weekend that would be a good story for your grandkids.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yeah.
We don't normally watch car commercials and go, wow.
Yeah, but we did. We took a step back and we were like, whoa, that's profound.
That is a profound car commercial.
It would basically go make memories now and have stories to tell your grandkids. Like, they're not gonna want to hear about you watching something on TV.
Yeah.
Or staying in.
Yeah, it's about adventure and living life, and that's I just wanted to throw that in there because it it related to your quote, your Batterson quote.
It did.
So what was I about to talk about?
You were talking about the planet.
After the planet.
Lifting other people up.
Oh, yes. Lifting other people up.
Earth.
Because I read a quote somewhere recently, too, that said there are enough critics in the world, and it's better just to be someone that's encouraging.
And I will say real quick, I do have to catch myself a lot with that. I can find myself being a critic or being too negative on certain things. I don't think I'm a negative person, but I catch myself sometimes when I'm being like that. And I don't need to be like that. I don't need to have an opinion on that. Like, maybe I could just be positive about something else.
The Solo movie.
Yeah. I mean, if you compare the Solo movie to Star Wars 8, like, it's not even close. Like, it's not even close, and that's all I'm going to say. You can think whatever you want of that. It's not even close. Literally, it's not close.
Yeah,
I get worked up. See, I'm getting worked up.
Now we both have crazy eyes.
Now we're both crazy eye worked up.
Yeah, woo. Yeah.
Calm it down.
Yeah, that was a lot of caffeine, I guess.
Lifting other people up, Miranda.
Because I do struggle with that, too. I struggle with the mentality of a limited amount of success that's available in the world. And so when you see somebody else that's successful, I feel that, like, that jealousy, like, they already accomplished that. I'm not going to be able to accomplish that as well because they already done that. But
abundance. Must believe in abundance.
Yes, and it's John Maxwell, right, that talks about the abundance mentality and just
abundance capacity as well.
Abundance capacity.
I think you're right about the mentality, but it is a mentality.
Just because someone else has achieved it doesn't mean you can't. And just because someone else has done something doesn't mean that you shouldn't reach for it if that's your passion. And I do get stuck with, oh, well, that's already been done. It's just you feel like there is a limited amount and it boxes you in. And it is so much better to have that abundance mentality to be like, wow, that person's awesome. They did this great thing. What can I do to add to that? Or what can I do to get to that level as well?
I think it's having the confidence too in yourself. Like, hey, I can leave normal behind. I can jump into getting passive income and building websites. And that was my thought when I jumped in. There was that fear, like there's so many other people that have listened to Pat Flynn's podcast on Smart Passive Income and built their websites and done all this stuff. How am I ever going to make money out of that? But it's really confidence and putting the work in. There is an abundance. There is, if you put the hard work in, you will get there eventually. I mean, I've been working on that stuff for years and like, it's still not where I want it to be. It's not even close, but I just have this mentality that I'm going to keep working on it. No matter what, I'm just going to keep pushing. And maybe in some ways I should have already learned enough lessons to be able to make it work and just truly live off passive income. But on the other hand, like I started with nothing either. I didn't know anything of what I was talking about. So I'm going to keep working on it. And I think you can have that confidence and that mentality that, hey, there's enough. And I'm willing to put the work in no matter how long it takes. You'll get there. I mean, I think it's like anything. You can get there if you really put your mind to it and really go all in and say, I'm doing this.
Yeah, just go for it. And, we've talked about this before too. If you fail, that's okay. Like you learned something along the way. Try again and, see what happens next time. It's that, because we just recently talked about your word of being steadfast. The mine for this year is bravery. And that's,
Hugarakar, the Icelandic word.
And that's where I struggle, it's like, well, why even try? I'm going to fail. It's going to, people are going to judge me or, someone's going to have like a bad review and then I'll cry and,
Yeah.
It's very sensitive about those things. So it's hard. It's hard to put yourself out there in that way, but life is so much rich and colorful if you do live in that way where you are just pursuing your dreams and you're not letting naysayers change your mind. You're just going for it.
Yep.
Woo!
And I think that's key. But it can be hard. It can be hard to keep going, especially in the face of adversity in that way. Like, you spend years on something and you don't see any measurable progress. It's hard. It can be hard to keep going. But I think just knowing, and I mean, I think being willing to shift too. If you spend years on something and you're like, I'm burnt out with this. I don't even like this anymore. Like, I don't want to reach this goal. Like, that's fine. It's fine to quit that thing and move on. I'm not this type of person that thinks like just because you thought something at one point or just because you invested in something early on that I think, I don't think you would necessarily need to stick to it. I think there are certain things that take years of practice and you're going to see that progress over time. But I also don't think we need to be stuck on something that we decided on 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, they seem a little contradictory, but at the same time, it's that balance thing.
Yeah.
Which is, it's hard to strike that balance for sure. But it is just, how often are people critical and judgmental and just negative? And, be different. Be that person that is a light and be that person that is lifting people up and just, complimenting people, just because, not because you want something from them or anything, just going out there. And I just think it's astounding how much one comment can like really stick with you. One positive comment, and it could be something that person wasn't even like thinking it was going to be a big deal. They're just like, hey, like you did a really good job on that report. And like, it sticks with you,
Yeah. Or like, hey, you're looking great. You've been working out for a couple weeks or a couple months and someone says, hey, you look great today. And they may not even mean like your figure looks great. They mentioned like you might have like a nice shirt
glowing.
on.
You were glowing that day.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's something you could say, even just like being a positive, smiley person can just make you look that much more professional. And
But that single...
Just good. That's a separate thing. But even just smiling could just make you that much more approachable.
But that single comment can push you to keep working out. You could be about to peter out of your workout regimen, and then someone says, wow, you look really great. And that could be the one thing that keeps you going.
And you're like, wow, like, thank you.
Yeah. And I know there's so many stories about, famous writers and things like that, where it was just one teacher or one person that said, hey, you're good at this. And that's all it took for them to go and make a career out of it and decide that that was their passion. So you could be that person and not even know it. Just think about that.
Yep.
That's cool.
And I think that's something that we could even think about more, just being more positive to people and just more genuine, but also, what was the right word is, just giving comments often.
Yeah. And
not being lame about it, not saying it to everyone every day, but being honest and being truthful and being genuine, looking at that person being like, hey, how can I lift that person up? Yeah.
And I think for me, it's a lot easier for me to like compliment like the superficial things, like, wow, that's like, you like put that outfit together really well. Or you look great today.
Or like, yeah, that nose job, like it looks great.
Yeah. It was a good thing you got
Just
that
kidding.
nose job.
I don't know anyone with a nose job I know of.
But I think it's an art to be able to compliment people on, the deeper things.
Yeah, things that matter.
And like, I think I can't even think of a good example right now of how you compliment somebody in like a really like, Yeah,
I think we need to learn more about that and get better about it, but that is key.
It's an art form, and I think, some people who are really good at that. Because you don't want to just compliment people on things that they're not good at. Like, wow, Miranda, like, you're a really natural leader. Be like, I don't think so.
I think it's just like knowing the person. Like when people come up to me and say, hey, Jordan, like I saw your book cover on Facebook. Like I really, really loved it. And I'm like, I just am kind of blown away. Like, oh, wow. Like you really took the time to look and then remember to say that to my face. And that comes really easy for some people. Like I think some people can just do that. And they don't think about that. They just think, hey, I'm going to relate. They don't even think about like, I'm going to relate to this person. They just like do it naturally. But for other people like Miranda and I, like that does not come naturally. Like we need to plan and purposely think through that type of stuff. And I think like if you find yourself like us, like that's a really important lesson is just doing the best you can to lift people up in the things that they care about. Yeah, because for us, it's harder because when we're having a conversation with somebody, our wheels are already spinning so fast. Like, okay, how do I not sound like an idiot? How can I lift this person up? How can I be positive? But like, I feel like most people don't think about that stuff. They just do it. Yeah. Or the people that are good at it just do it. But then some people aren't good at it. It's. I'm sure there's people out there like us that have to think about that stuff. Yeah, maybe you have to work a little harder at those things. Are you? Please tell us we're not alone. So. We're insane. No. Yes. Yes. But I think it is going to come more naturally to some people. But I think even if it is harder, it doesn't mean you shouldn't try. And even if you have to That's a truth. I've ever heard one. Think ahead of time and it's like, okay, that person has done something really cool. I need to take a mental note or actually physically write it down and remember that. So next time I see them, I can bring it up and not be like, shoot, I forgot to tell them how proud I was of them later on. And I think you can start with family members and, even your spouse as well. I think we all could do this better. Like you know them. What's something that they really care about that you can just either compliment them on or you can help them work through? I mean, I think that's a great place to start. I mean, you know the person really well. Like what's one thing you can say to just make their day, to lift them up and to just stop for a second and be serious and be like, hey, like I really appreciated the way you handled this, or I appreciate that you did this. You may not even realize you did this for me, but like I appreciate it and noticed it. I do say Miranda and I will do that for each other. Like we're talking about, we're not as good at recognizing that in other people, but we definitely can lift each other up because we really know each other. And I think that's just getting to know people and getting to know what they really care about can make all the difference. And it's been cool having the one word this year, too, because I think it does make it easier. I know that you're working hard on being steadfast. So yes, that's true. When I see you doing something that, I'm very proud of and it's related to being steadfast, I know that's going to mean a lot when I
compliment you on it, because that's what you've been working on, and then that's going to boost you further into getting even better at it. So I think that's a cool little addition with having a word or having a focus that your significant other knows about, because then they know what you're working on. They know what where they need encouragement, and that's huge.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. I didn't really realize that as a side benefit of doing the one word, but that's huge.
Yeah.
We did a whole podcast on the one word that you can listen to. I'll link to that in the show notes. I don't remember which episode number it was, but we talked about that, how our focus was that for the year, and that was huge. I love that. I love that we're still talking about it, and I can't wait to do it again.
I can't believe it's already October, though.
We're going to have to pick a new word in a couple months.
I know. I cannot believe 2018 is like...
It's almost over.
Wrapping up here.
It is wrapping up quick.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Yep.
For sure.
2.5 months, right?
October, November,
Yeah,
December.
wow.
We're about, and when the holidays start, man, it flies.
It's like shim sham shoom.
Exactly.
Yep. What else about leaving normal behind, Miranda, do we want to leave people with?
What do we want to leave them with? I think especially we've talked about goal setting ad nauseum.
Yes.
So I think people kind of know we already are big on that. But it's worth mentioning. If you don't have goals, you don't have things you're reaching for, you're not going to make it there. And a lot of people don't have goals. And, be that weirdo that has a whiteboard with goals written on them and action steps you need to take to get to those goals, Be a little, I think it's scary to be weird. I mean, I feel this way even talking on the podcast sometimes, like, do we really want to tell people this?
Yeah,
like,
no, I think the same thing.
It's like we already like struggle sometimes with, communicating with people, but do we want to tell them how weird we are? And then they know for sure.
Tough. Even I thought about that even with my book being very vulnerable, and like people know stuff about me from my book if they read it that I don't know about them, and that kind of it makes the playing field not very level, and that's even harder for someone like that's an introvert and like struggles with those relationships sometimes. But I also think it's so great to open yourself up to being vulnerable and just saying, hey, like this is what I'm good at, this is what we like to do, but then this is also what I'm not so good at, and this is also how I'm weird. I think it opens yourself up for criticisms, but it also opens yourself up to those people that really appreciate that and really like that, to say like, hey, that's really cool that you guys do that. Like, we love that about you. So you're going to have both ends of the spectrum, but wouldn't you rather be someone that is influencing other people in a positive way as opposed to not? I think so. Yeah.
No, I agree. It is scary when you do put yourself out there and when you are open and honest and just, like you wrote a book, you're just laying your heart out there on a platter on the internet for people to stomp on. So
yes, that is very true.
Scary.
And it's hard because I can talk a big game about not being sensitive about negative book reviews, but I'm sure I'll get them for Volcanic Momentum, and it doesn't make me feel good to read negative words about the book. But people are entitled to their own opinion, and I believe in it. I don't believe in their opinion, but I believe in mine for the book.
And the people that you are...
It's still hard, though.
The people you're helping, it's worth it to help people, even if you do get some negative feedback. Yeah,
isn't it worth it to have one person say, wow, Jordan, like, I wasn't expecting this. You gave me this book to read for free, and I wasn't expecting it to really change my perspective. Like, this book's amazing. Like, isn't that worth 100 negative reviews? It should be. Unfortunately, negative comments kind of have a little bit more weight to them, unfortunately. But it should be worth it. And doing a podcast, even if one person says, like, that podcast is so cool, I appreciate your words, it should be worth it because you're making a difference for someone. Yeah. And I think that, beyond anything, is a reason to leave normal behind to get yourself out there. It
applies to everything. Even if you're getting naysayers that say, well, why don't you just buy a house and settle down? And like, why don't you just stay with the job that is going to pay the bills? Why don't you
have kids? Yeah. Like maybe we don't want kids. Like, why does everyone think everyone wants kids? I don't know. That's just my pet peeve. Maybe we don't want kids, and isn't that okay? Well, I don't know. For some people, that's just what you do. So that's a complete side note.
And again, it's in no way being judgy for people who want kids, because if you want kids, that's wonderful. You know? That's great. Having children is like, that's huge.
A super amazing blessing.
Yeah, but if you don't want kids, don't reproduce just because everyone's telling you to. That's all we're saying. Yeah. And
don't reproduce.
And it's just with everything, like we're saying, like, even if you are being a little weird and you're putting yourself out there, if you're trying to help people, it's worth it to be, to get a couple like judgy glances, a couple side remarks, to be putting yourself out there and to be a light to people. And even if it is just being positive when other people are being critics, if everyone's, gossiping about that one person in the office and you're like, say something positive about them instead, it's going against the grain. It's really hard. It's going against what the group safety is, but, it's worth it.
Yep.
And I think everyone can keep working on, obviously we have plenty of work to do. You can tell that.
But that's key, knowing your strengths and knowing your weaknesses, knowing what you got to work on too, as far as leaving normal behind and making those changes that, you can't change if you don't know. So that as soon as you know what you need to work on, what you can improve on, the better your life is going to be, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's a good place to end right
I
there.
think that is a good place to end. This is probably the last time we'll share this. If you want to pick up a copy of Volcanic Momentum, it is available now. jmring.com/volcanic-momentum. Or if you want to check it out on Amazon, you can search for the book title there, Volcanic Momentum, or just type in Jordan Ring on Amazon. You'll see my books. You can grab it in paperback, audiobook, hardcover, or Kindle edition. Whatever floats your boat, whatever meets your fancy, you can pick it up. We would appreciate that. A lot of this stuff we talked about is in there, but you'll get even more tidbits in an organized, just super cool way. So we'd hope you would consider picking it up. But this ends our series on momentum. We hope you stay volcanic, friends.
Ooh, there you go. Stay volcanic.